Hey everybody, this is Jim.
And Jeremy.
And we are on show number 28. Today we're going to do a top 10 list. We're going to do some music news, and we're going to talk about some new music we've been listening to. And I think we'll start out with some music news. We'll get right into it.
Happy belated St. Patrick's Day, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I'm finishing my Guinness. I had a couple last night.
Delicious.
I love this stout with the widget in it. So I got some music news. First one is we're talking about a song that is being taken to court. This has happened before, with Led Zeppelin. And my feelings on this are, there's so many bands out there and songs that, you're going to write a song that probably sounds like another song. Jeremy and I listen to a lot of music, and, there's songs that I hear certain parts in the song, I'm like, that sounds like, I don't know if anyone can hear laughing, but we have the window open. We are live.
Window in the studio.
Yeah, it's a little dry in here.
Yeah. But yes, to your point, there are many times where you'll hear a new song and you can swear, like inside and out, I've heard that beat before, or those lyrics sound vaguely familiar.
I mean, sometimes I rack my brain with that sound. Oh my God, that sounds like, it could be a guitar, like guitar notes, like a sequence. Or even the lyrics, the way, like a hook or something in the song. So we have Ed Sheeran.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. It's alleged that Ed Sheeran and two of his co-writers, they lifted particular lines and phrases for a 2017 single from a track called Oh Why by Sammy Switch.
Oh, man.
Now, nobody's heard of Sammy Switch, so I also think some artists who aren't well known as Ed Sheeran, who sold millions of albums, someone says, hey man, this song sounds just like our song. But you do have to get lawyers, you have to put out money. And this guy's real name is Sam Chokri.
Oh.
So okay. It's Sammy Switch.
All right.
They claim that Sheeran took the O-I hook from the aforementioned song.
Yes.
It was released in 2015. Sheeran has vehemently denied the accusation and rejected the suggestion that he heard Oh Why before he wrote Shape of You in October 2016.
Sammy Switch is just trying to get Sheeran to stop releasing albums every 2 weeks. That's his end goal.
Okay, so McDade, who is one of the co-writers with Ed Sheeran, he's also in Snow Patrol. He said he could not recall ever hearing Oh Why in any way, and said he was unaware of Sammy Switch before the current legal case began.
Sounds like Sammy wants, 10%, be on his way, be happy.
Now, we have this musicology expert, Christian Seidel, said that he noticed melodic similarities so numerous and striking that the possibility of independent creation is highly impossible.
Wow.
Here we have a song, Shape of You. The royalties from that were $20 million.
Of course.
Just on that song.
Yeah.
And they have been frozen, the royalties, since this person issued the claim.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this works out.
All right.
I think the Led Zeppelin case, I don't know if there was any settlement, or I think that was dismissed eventually. That was Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened.
I think it was a band called Spirit.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they'll settle out of court.
Yeah. So our next story is about the Rolling Stones. Of course, we know that Charlie Watts has passed away. What are the Stones going to do, right? They need a drummer. They have a replacement.
Probably the most easily positioned replacement there is in the band.
Well, Charlie Watts, I think, had his unique sound. I mean, I don't particularly listen to the drums alone.
Right.
But I know drummers do have particular, a particular style.
Yeah, it wasn't an attack on him. Just, if you're still going to see the Rolling Stones, you're probably going to see Mick Jagger. So You're not missing anything with a new drummer. But
so they were halfway through making a new album, believe it or not. So they wanted to continue recording, and they got this guy, his name's Steve Jordan. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Who's Steve Jordan?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, perfect.
He's 65 years old.
Wow, okay.
He's a director, producer, songwriter, and musician. And during the 70s and 80s, he was a member of the bands for the television show Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
And he was in the band for Late Night with David Letterman.
Oh, look at that. All right.
Okay. Now, since the mid-'80s, he has also been a member of the Expensive Winos, which is Keith Richards' band when he does his solo stuff. Keith Richards and Jordan, they've been production and songwriting partners for many of Keith Richards' solo works. So they have a connection there.
Yeah,
so he didn't just pull this person, out of nowhere. Sense. And in 2005, he became a member of the John Mayer Trio. Okay. So he's played with John Mayer. He's also recorded with Don Henley, John Mellencamp, Cat Stevens, Bob Dylan, B.B. King, list goes on. Even Kelly Clarkson.
That's a pretty good list.
And even is featured on James Taylor's 1998 DVD, Live at the Beacon Theater.
Nice.
So we have a drummer for the Stones. They're going to continue. And I don't know for how much longer.
They'll never stop.
So if you were wondering, that's who the Stones have now.
Yeah, it's one of those bands I've never seen live.
Yeah, I've never seen them.
I would probably enjoy seeing them live, but I wouldn't go out of my way to see them live either.
I'd like to see them once, but I don't know how, you can't wait too long.
Right.
I mean, Keith Richards, he was just interviewed by Marc Maron, and he quit smoking after 50 some years.
Wow.
I don't know if that matters at that point. I don't know how old Keith Richards, he's approaching 80, I would think.
I have no idea. That guy's been like 70 forever.
I remember when COVID started and there was this meme going around. It was Keith Richards looking out of a hotel window.
Uh-huh.
And it said, "Where is everybody?"
Right.
Well, some other things are, there's a U2, I want to say.
Yeah, you mentioned this.
So I don't know if you call it a biopic. It's where they get actors, like Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man. They got people to play people. So it's going to be on Netflix. I don't know how good it's going to be. But who's going to play Bono? I was thinking Jimmy Fallon, because he can do, anybody.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Now, how did you feel about those movies? Because I liked the Queen movie, but the Elton John one didn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Yeah, I love the Queen movie. Rocket Man was kind of more like fantasy stuff, and
it almost felt forced, whereas the Queen one felt real.
Yeah.
Even if they were, making up maybe things that happened within the situations, it felt like it was, genuine. Whereas, and I'm not saying that the Elton John movie was terrible, but it just felt like they were trying to carry that momentum from the Queen movie and create their own thing.
I think some things might have been exaggerated, and you have someone who is still alive, and I think he also worked on the movie. Who's going to say to Elton John that didn't happen? Right. So I don't know. I think they kind of embellished some things.
Right.
And I'm really looking forward to this Elvis movie. Although I'm not real crazy about the guy playing Elvis, because you kind of want him to look a little like Elvis.
Yes.
So it's believable.
Or have the mannerisms.
Not exactly, but
yeah. No, I agree. And it's, the concept of these movies when they first came out was fantastic. Like the Queen one really, really caught my interest. But I'm worried now that they're going to try and do basically every famous rock group or every famous musician, and it's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the same effect.
When Mike and I started the podcast, the first one we did in a hotel room in Virginia, but for some reason not while we were recording, but we were, I guess, bored, and we were trying to come up with who they would come up with for the next, because this is, I think, right after Queen, the Bohemian Rhapsody came out. I forget now who I probably said Elvis, because there hasn't been a proper Elvis movie.
Right.
There's been Elvis TV movies. I also think U2 deserves, a big movie. Because for our listeners, next month, we're going to talk about the Doors movie, and that was in 91. And basically, that's why we're doing the top 10 from 91. I know that sounds odd, but... So one other thing was Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton was nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She withdrew her nomination, but as of now, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has not said anything. So are they still going to keep her... on the ballot?
Right.
She did say that when I record a rock and roll album, then I'll consider being inducted. But now there's talk that that's what she's going to be working on. I forget who the person was. There's a musician that said, I want to do, I don't know if he wants to do an album or just a song with her. And I think it's a rock and roll person. So I don't know. But that sounds kind of weird. When I do a rock and roll album, then you can induct me.
Right.
But I think she's sending a message to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whether they listen or not. Some of the people that their bands and musicians, artists that they're inducting are not rock and roll at all. She said that It's like inducting AC/DC into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Now, believe it or not, I think Dolly Parton's an AC/DC fan.
Yeah.
Because Bryan Johnson supposedly, I don't know if he has an interview show or a podcast, but he interviewed Dolly Parton, and he's a fan of Dolly Parton. How cool would it be for Bryan Johnson to help work on this rock and roll album?
As an AC/DC fan?
AC awesome. Dolly or something.
There you go. Call it. You know, it's funny that, and I respect her words that she's putting out there and kind of her approach to this. But the irony of such a statement is it's a shame for her that she's taking it serious when, I don't want to say the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't take it serious, but they are inducting so many people that don't put out rock and roll albums, that aren't even, let's say that metal rock kind of, border. Like, yeah, there's some people they're putting in that are nothing but pop or rap or.
Well, Duran Duran, they got guitar, but they're mostly keyboard.
Yep.
Verging on like new wave. I think Dolly's such a nice person, such a great person, that she kind of thought more into this, that what if I get inducted and I have to be there? Dolly would not be someone who be like, I'm not going.
Right.
She's such a nice person that this puts it out there beforehand that I don't want to be inducted because I don't want to. What am I going to say when all her albums have been country?
I'm trying to think. Did she do anything with Kenny Rogers?
Yeah, she did a lot with Kenny.
I mean, you might be able to classify some of that stuff as
that was
rock,
more,
but
that was more ballady.
Right.
She did a Christmas album with him, and I also think she did some stuff with him. I don't know if Kenny Rogers is in the rock and roll.
I don't know either. I remember those two working. Oh, I thought I remembered those two working together.
Well, Kenny Rogers was in a band before he went solo, and I think it was maybe more rock and roll. I don't know many Dolly Parton songs. Like, I know Islands in the Stream, that was Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton.
Yep.
But I don't know any, I can't think of any rock and Dolly Parton songs.
No.
But I think they're going to run out of true rock and roll people, or then they're going to be inducting people that maybe don't even deserve. I don't know if it goes by sales. Then you're going to be inducting bands who've sold like 2 million albums,
right,
as opposed to 50 million or.
Well, and it's, not to bring up sports into a music podcast, but it's so relatable that I think the Hall of Fames in general are starting to kind of get oversaturated. And instead of, taking the approach of maybe taking a break or slowing down, they're still trying to induct 7 people or 6, whatever it is at a time. And now you're getting some of those borderline, and you don't ever... my intention here isn't to be disrespectful to any of the bands who have gotten into the Hall of Fame. And I know yours isn't either.
Except Bon Jovi.
I like Bon Jovi, so I can't even go that far. But it's a shame because then they kind of get this tainted vision from fans that, well, they don't deserve to be in, or my favorite band isn't in, but why are they in? And it's not supposed to be the Hall of Good.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be something that's you've reached an amount of excellence that you deserve to be there.
I think it's the words rock and roll.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to be a hip, cool, let's do a rock and roll, let's have rock artists. And then they ran out of rock artists. So that, I think, does it for our music news. Now, I've been listening to some new albums lately. Just wanted to talk about some of those. There's this new band. They've been around a little while, but they're one of these bands that only put out a couple EPs, a couple singles. They just put out their first full-length album. They're called the Mysterines. Their album's called Reeling, Reeling. Came out March 11th. I've listened to this album many times. It's a girl lead singer. The lead singer's name is Leah Metcalf. She reminds me, there was a band back in I don't know if it was the late 80s, 90s. I'm pretty sure it was the 80s, called Concrete Blonde. There was a girl named Jonette Napolitano who had this husky, heavy, cool voice. She reminds me of her as far as the vocals. But some of these songs are really heavy. I think it's 2 girls and 2 guys. They're fairly young. I also think they're a cross between like now these are old bands, The Cult, Ministry even, and even Susie and the Banshees a little bit. There are some slower songs in this, but her voice, like I said, is heavy, and it's mesmerizing to me. Some of the songs that stand out to me are Life's a Bitch, but I like it so much. Dangerous, In My Head, Old Friends Die Hard, and On the Run, which actually has a slide guitar on it, On the Run. Now, I did find out that Leah is a huge Doors fan. She's a fan of poetry being used for songs, just like Jim Morrison would write poetry, turn it into songs.
Interesting.
And she started writing songs at the age of 9.
Wow.
Like, if you like the heavier, sound, like if you're into, I know Jeremy and the Buck Cherry, like even AC/DC, like stuff like that, you want to listen to this.
Okay.
I think they're going to...
Is it relatable to like a hailstorm?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I would check it out.
So the next one, I don't know if you had time to listen, or you listened to that. Bryan Adams has a new album out.
I know he has a new album
Yeah.
out. I heard it one time, but I have not gotten back to it. I want to.
So it's called So Happy It Hurts.
Yep. I love Bryan Adams. He's one of my favorite musicians.
I wasn't a big fan. I know Summer 69 cuts like a knife. I'm not crazy about this album.
No.
I don't know. Some of the songs I think are really bad. And I even think the lyrics are like badly written.
Yeah.
If you hear screaming, that's coming from outside.
I can hear it in my headphones.
Yeah.
It's
So-
still hot in here. I might have to leave. I'm just kidding.
So there's a couple songs on here that sound like country songs to me.
Wow. That's a shame.
And I know people like country, but this song On the Road, it just sounds like a bad country song.
But you can like country, but when you buy
Yeah.
a Bryan Adams album, you're not expecting to hear country sounding music.
And this was a song, again, sounded like another song to me, like a bad country song I probably heard.
Right.
It's weird, though, but the chord progression, the guitar in the beginning sounds to me like a Smithereens chord progression.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it goes into something else, and the lyrics are not good either. And then there's a song called You Lift Me Up. It's like a ballad anthem. It almost reminded me of like a boy band song.
Right.
There are some good songs on here. Just Like Me, Just Like You. Remind me of Creedence Clearwater Revival. Just About Gone, which again sounds a little country to me, but that's a good song. And I've Been Looking for You, which is actually like a fast-paced, like rockabilly sounding song. So that's a good one. There's a weird song on here called Kick Ass. Starts out with some jungle noises. And then you hear a man speaking, talking about, I don't know, the creation of rock and roll, and the narrator is John Cleese from Monty Python. There's only like a minute of music after the narration, maybe a little over a minute.
I think I remember that song.
I don't know. And in the bio on Apple Music, someone says, an asphalt ripping rocker that fully earns its title. And I say, no, it's really not.
Yeah, Bryan Adams is a tough one because a lot of his music is more love song related and like musicals. I know a lot of movies, they used a lot of his tracks for things like that. So he's a tough sell for some people.
Yeah.
But this album, I only remember listening to it the one time, but as you're rattling off some of your information, it did remind me that it was not one of his more upbeat albums. It didn't really rock. It was very soft and kind of mellow. And
I just think it's disjointed. I think it's not that all the songs should sound similar. I don't know. I think it's a little all over the place to me.
Right.
Okay. So then the next album is one I really like, and it's Mike Campbell. Do you know who Mike Campbell is?
Not by name. What band was he in?
He was in the Heartbreakers.
Okay.
He has a band called the Dirty Knobs.
Okay.
And he's put out a couple albums with that band. This is called External Combustion. Okay. I love the title.
Yeah, it's creative.
The title song is just incredible. I say it's a ripper. It's a real ripper. Black Crowes meet Tom Petty. Okay. Now, Mike Campbell, I don't know if you've heard him sing, but he sounds similar to Tom Petty.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know if it's the area they grew up in. I know they're from Florida. Or if it's spending too much time with someone else that you start sounding like them. I don't know what it is. Okay. I don't know if I'm assuming he's originally from Florida. He doesn't sound exactly like Tom Petty, but you can tell he did the harmonies with Tom Petty, and you probably couldn't even tell, you know.
Right.
There's a really good song called Lightning Boogie. It's a fast bluesy song. Great guitar work on the whole album. So I'd say check that out. That whole album is great.
What was the name again? Mike Campbell?
Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs.
Okay.
External Combustion. And the last one is a band that I've loved since the 80s called Tears for Fears.
Oh, I was expecting somebody else. Okay.
And it's The Tipping Point. Now, they haven't put out an album in 18 years. And this is only their 7th album.
That's amazing.
I read that The Weeknd, Kanye West, and Drake, now they're not on the album, of course, but they have sampled Tears for Fears in their songs. I'm sure other people have. I've listened to this album many times. It is just a fabulous, just complete album. You know, of course, they aren't rocking or anything, but just so well put together and orchestrated. The songs are, the lyrics, everything. Great hooks, great harmonies. I'm like in love with this album.
I just sent myself a text to make sure I listened to it because you made me.
Yeah.
You made me interested. I'm actually surprised you didn't mention the Scorpions' new album.
Well, yeah, I don't have it on here, but I was, yeah. Did you listen to the Scorpions?
I did, and I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I'm not like a huge Scorpions fan, but I love a lot of their songs. So it definitely gave me that nostalgia. It had a Scorpion sound to it, and you know, it was like upbeat rock.
Yeah, his voice is still the same. What's his name? Amazing. Klaus? I don't know his last name.
I don't know off the top of my head.
We'll call him Klaus.
There you go. But no, you texted me and I was like, shoot, I've been meaning to check that out because I had seen, you know, copies online for sale. And then I went and looked it up and I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic.
Yeah. So, there weren't any signed ones, were there?
There was actually.
Oh, okay.
I missed out, but
yeah, you got to get in there early because a lot of artists now are putting out through their website, or if you go to their website, it'll take you to another site that's selling, you know,
pre-order
albums, CDs, even cassettes. But a lot of the albums are signed in the CDs, and it really doesn't cost that much more to get the autographed one.
No.
But once they're gone, then you go on eBay, and you know the price is 2-3 times more.
Yeah, easily, if not more.
Yeah. But the cover is a woman screaming. She's got like a clear material linen over her face. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's for the album too, but the CD is 3D. There's a 3D CD.
I didn't see that.
She's got I think a scorpion in her mouth.
Okay.
But it looks kind of like drawn scorpion. But I guess when you turn it, you can see the scorpion in her mouth.
That's pretty neat. Huh.
Next up, this is our last segment. We're going to do the top 10. Okay, so we're going to do the top 10. This is the week ending March 23rd, 1991. And again, I picked 91 because that's when the Doors movie came out. I could have picked a year that the Doors maybe were on the charts. I was just thinking that. And I want to preface this by saying that I've heard most of these songs, if not all, but they weren't songs, of course, I was listening to. Jeremy was too young to...
This was not my favorite top 10 list to even go back and listen to.
Next one we'll do a little bit older, 80s or
it's
60s,
funny
70s,
because
80s.
You know, obviously I'm only going to be 35 in 2 months, but my music realm is the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
So even to hear what was playing in 91, it's like...
Yeah, the 90s were iffy. Yeah. I was trying to remember what I was listening to. I know in the maybe 91, 92, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. Stuff
Green
like
Day,
that. Counting Crows, I think, was around that time. Mm-hmm. Maybe even, is Weezer that old?
Yeah.
Maybe Weezer.
Yep.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, because, I mean, you figure, like, New Kids on the Block were big in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So.
It's like in the 80s, I wasn't listening to Whitney Houston and Madonna and...
Celine Dion.
If I can say his name again, Bon Jovi. You know.
He was halfway there then.
Yeah.
He's
So I was talking to, before we get into this, I was talking to
Bon Jovi.
this guy last week who interviews a lot of famous people. He has his own show, and we were doing a video chat. I never talked to him before, but when he asked me where I was from, and I said New Jersey, and the first thing he says is, "Oh, Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen."
Yeah.
And I had to hold back.
Yep.
But anyway, I digress. Okay, Jeremy's going to start off our top 10 here.
Yeah, we'll kind of do some back and forth here. But so the first number 10 was by a band called Enigma. How do you pronounce the title?
Oh, yeah.
It
looks like sadness, but it's sadness or
it's
something.
like sadness
Or
sadness,
Sadanus.
something.
Mm-hmm.
This was a funky song. First of all, the lyrics are like French, aren't they? French and Italian,
Yeah, they're
French
in
and
another...
Latin or something. Like,
yeah.
There's like the Gregorian chants in the background.
Oh, no, wait. This song, I think, is called Sadness.
Oh, okay.
Because it's based around the Marquis de Sade.
Oh.
And it was Sade.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, it was a French nobleman.
Okay, that makes sense. The fact that this track reached number 1 faster than any other new release in German history is like,
Yeah.
how bad is German music?
Yeah. They didn't have any good music.
I'm sorry, that's so mean, but
yeah. I mean, this got to number 7, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, this week it was number 10.
I mean, there wasn't even anything that I could relate this song to. I listened to it and I was just kind of, I don't even remember hearing this like as a kid.
Yeah, it's not even good musically. It's just blah. And
I love your note here of, did you ever play Mahjong on the computer?
Oh, yeah. That's what it reminded me of. The computer game Mahjong, that music that plays in the background, that's what this was.
That is a perfect comparison.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's what it reminded me of.
So the first thing that came to mind, right, when you think of German music, Rammstein, however you pronounce it,
yeah.
Du Hast, right? They don't say anything, and it's like a chant the entire time. But at least it's an upbeat song with like, character within the music. This was just blah.
Yeah. I don't know how they must have had a good like promoter, this band.
They had something working for them, because if they sold albums based off of this single, man, they're doing something right.
Yeah. This whole list is sadness.
Yeah. Well, and so
although we got Madonna on here.
I was gonna say we'll go into number 9, but even so, I'm a Madonna fan. Like, I'm not gonna try and hide that. I think Madonna has produced some of the greatest music, especially for a female musician in her time period, fighting that battle of rock and roll. I mean, she held her own. Every album she put out there, she was different. She was unique. She was odd.
And now she's very odd.
Yeah, absolutely. But putting all that aside, she had an amazing voice. She had talent. She could perform.
Yeah. She was kind of cute.
Absolutely. She was a very beautiful woman, still is.
Now, my favorite song of hers is her first song, or her first single, Borderline. And the reason I worked in a machine shop, I was probably, I don't date myself. People know how old I am. But so anyway, the radio would be on in the machine shop, so I would hear all the songs. It brings back good memories. That was my first good job that I got, besides job cleaning toilets or... I was in a machine shop. I was making good money. I was going to school half a day, and I went home for lunch, and then I went to work. So I only had like 3 classes in high school, basically. So that was a good good time for me.
Nice.
And whenever I hear that song, it just brings me back. Not that I don't like her other songs. Some I like more than others, like Vogue, I could do without, some of those. But,
Frozen is my favorite.
So, Jeremy, what's this song we're
But yeah, number 9 was Rescue Me, which was from her first greatest hits album, The Immaculate Collection. It's one of those songs I would have never thought that this would be in the top 10 of all the music that Madonna has put out there. I know the song. I've heard it before. They
might have released most of her songs as singles, at a certain point. I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is a new song that was, like you said, it was on a greatest hits collection from 1990.
And I mean, the song itself isn't bad, but it's not one that I would have thought would find its way onto a top 10 list.
Yeah, I said it's not one of her stronger songs, but I have the feeling they just played everything.
I think it got
this
to
would
a
have
point.
been, I have my notes here that this would have been a throwaway song, maybe on an album.
Right.
But I think because it was people were anticipating, I don't know how long it was when she put this out from her last studio album.
Right.
So people anticipate, a new song.
It's Madonna.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think you get to a point where a musician kind of gets that reputation that they have a song coming out. Now it's going to play by default.
Yeah.
Because they have that reputation.
She was the Cardi B of her time, Jeremy.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good comparison. Number 8, London Beat, I've Been Thinking About You. Very simple beat, very simple lyrics. It's a pretty long song for the early 90s. It was okay. This, of the top 10, this is probably one of my favorites on the list. Probably because of how simple it was.
Yeah, it's been compared to Fine Young Cannibals. Yeah. I know they said. Yeah, it's kind of simple, and it's a pleasant song. I mean, it reached number 1 in more than 10 countries at the time.
That's amazing.
Australian Music Channel included it in their list of 1,000 greatest songs of all, which I have to laugh at.
That is very funny.
And 1,000 greatest songs of all time. They could be 999. We don't know. Maybe that Enigma or whatever that band is on there. Maybe they're 1,000.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll be thinking about that. Number 7 was Wilson Phillips, You're in Love. And I can tell you honestly, I had not heard this song before until I listened to this list. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sounded vaguely familiar, but it was, number 1 at one point?
Yeah, Billboard Hot 100.
Yep. I don't know a lot about this band. Wilson Phillips, Carney Wilson, Wendy Wilson, Chynna Phillips.
China.
Damn.
Well, okay, Carney is Brian Wilson's daughter.
I was going to ask that question.
And Wendy is Brian Wilson's daughter.
Okay.
And Chynna Phillips is John and Michelle Phillips' daughter, who were in the Mamas and the Papas.
So now I kind of feel embarrassed, and I did not know that.
And Chynna Phillips is the half-sister of Mackenzie Phillips.
Okay.
Because I think she has a different mother. Her mother was not Michelle. I know too many things. If I'm right, someone would tell me I'm not. But I am.
The song itself wasn't too bad. It was pretty upbeat.
They were pretty popular though this time. I mean, this was their 3rd number 1 and final, so they only had 3 number 1s.
Okay.
I don't know when they broke up,
the other
but they haven't. No.
Okay. Sorry, I put you on the spot there.
That's okay. I watched MTV. I think they were still playing music videos.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I was a big, music video watcher.
Well, and this was a ballad, right? And that was big in the late 80s, early 90s, so...
They had good harmonies, and, I think they had a good following.
Now, number 6, I've heard this song many times, Tara Kemp, Hold You Tight. It's very basic, there's nothing special about the lyrics. Sorry, I'm using Jim's notes this week.
Yeah.
This is funny, because he's got a note here that says there's a bad keyboard playing at the end.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I said I could even play this.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying much. Now, I know this song, and I noticed there's an annoying part at the end, too. Maybe before the annoying keyboard part. But she's saying the last lines of the song, and it sounds like someone's squeezing a feral cat.
It does.
She's like, I want you! Or, I can't do it right.
Right.
And then it's like, hold me, love me, squeeze me. I need you!
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know what's... she just woke up at that point of this, because the rest of the song is...
And again, using Jim's notes this week, which is fun, because typically I do this stuff kind of from the heart or from my mind.
Yeah, Jeremy does listen to the songs.
I do have cheat sheets, but they end up not working well for me, so I just kind of go off the top of my head. So I was like, all right, let me actually use paper this week and see. And this is where I would struggle, because...
if you want to go to... buymeacoffee.com. We have a page on there. You can donate $5, whatever. Jeremy needs a printer.
Yes, there we go.
So if we can get some money gathered.
I keep all my notes on my cell phone, and I'm scrolling through.
Jeremy can print out the notes.
But then I love this final line. And then she says the words, just want you to hold me tight. It's sung about 200 more times.
Yeah. It sounds like it. I know that song, and I didn't like it when it came out.
I was going to say, so I try and give every song a fair chance when we do the top 10.
She's like a Taylor Dane. I don't know if you know, sort of that kind of singer.
Okay.
I don't know, just dancey, a decent voice, but just not something I'd listen to.
And usually these lists, I try and listen to them multiple times. That song got one listen, and as soon as it finished, I got that off of my phone as soon as I could.
You didn't want anyone seeing that you listened to that.
I didn't even want it to come up again as a recommendation either. Does that happen to you? You'll listen to a really bad song, and then you'll get recommendations based on the really bad song, and it's like, I almost wish I didn't listen to that now.
Yeah. Number 5, we got Get Here, Aletta Adams. This is about someone wanting someone to get to her no matter what. She doesn't care how.
Right.
I mean, we don't even know if this guy has any money, but she's looking for him to shell out some major dough here to get to her. Maybe he's between jobs. Here are the lyrics. You can reach me by railway. You can reach me by trailway. Okay, trailway you can walk. You can reach me by an airplane. I don't know what airplane tickets were in 91. You can reach me with your mind. Is he telepathic?
I actually enjoy this song a lot.
Yeah?
I've heard this at karaoke many times, so I've always heard different versions and renditions of it. Mm-hmm. But I definitely have an appreciation for the lyrics, as kooky as they are.
And then she goes on caravan, sailboat. And then climb a tree and swing rope to rope.
Like Tarzan.
Yeah. Now I'm confused on this one because she says, take a sled and slide down the slope into these arms. So is he close by now? Did he take the airplane? Now he's up on the mountain? I don't know.
Well, he jumped out of the airplane, pulled the ripcord for his parachute, and then as he got closer to the ground, he got on his sled and slid down to her. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So this song was written by Brenda Russell in Stockholm, Sweden. The song came to her as she viewed some hot air balloons floating over the city. And she said she recalls it set her really tripping on how many ways you can get to a person. That's the origin of the song. So we're going to go on to, let's see, number 4, This House by Tracy Spencer. This was the second single released from her second album. So this was her second consecutive top 10 hit on the U.S. Hot R&B singles chart.
Ooh.
Also, where it peaked at number 7 on there. The theme touches upon an issue of poverty and giving to one another. The term "this house" doesn't mean a house particularly. It's the world. I found it amazing that, believe it or not, she was only 15 years old when she released this song.
Yep.
She's 45 now.
Right.
It starts out with some steel drums, got a good beat. She's got a really good voice. So here are some of the lyrics, if you want to know. In a world so cold, a place of disbelief, where will the people go without enough to eat? And that's, like I said, this house, she says, this house is our house. Let's do it for the people. It's all in the hands of love. So it's about helping people out. It's a good message. I wasn't real crazy about the song.
No, I wasn't either.
Yeah.
I'd rather hear Madness, Our House.
Yeah.
Or My House, or whatever it is.
Our House. Yeah. Number 3 is Coming Out of the Dark by Gloria Estefan. A nice inspirational song. You kind of feel like you're in church.
I feel like that with so many of her songs.
So this song was written after she had a bus accident. She was on her tour bus. I think this was near Scranton, Pennsylvania. I know she was treated in Tobyhanna, PA. And she was on the Get On Your Feet tour. And this is also the first song that she performed publicly after recovering.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
So she actually broke her back in this accident. I think a 18-wheeler rammed the tour bus. People were thrown about and she was thrown on the floor. So it's pretty sad. So this is a song about her comeback, or trying to see the light, trying to look at the good stuff, after this horrible thing that happened to her where she almost died.
Right.
Like I said, it's a good inspirational song. And we're going to go to number 2. This is a much more brighter song. This is Mariah Carey, Someday.
Which, again, and before you get into kind of talking about the song, when I think of Mariah Carey songs, it's amazing to me that this was one of the ones that landed on the top 10 list.
I think, again, like with Madonna and Mariah Carey, they put out a single and people just bought it up.
I mean, it had to be, because Mariah Carey's very talented.
Where some of her other songs are a lot better than this one.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could pick probably 8 songs, off the top of my head that I would like better than this one.
Now, this is from her debut studio album, 1990. And prior to this, they had done a 4-track demo tape before she was signed to a record deal. Mm-hmm. This was one of the songs that was on it. Here's a little background. In 1988, Mariah Carey was 18. She moved out of her mother's house in Long Island, and she moved to Manhattan. And that's when she did the demo. Said she struggled to impress record executives with the tape and had failed in securing a record deal. I know, I don't have this in my notes, but I know she went to some executive record party or something, probably with this guy, Margolis. I say guy, Margolis. I think he was a big producer. And he introduced her to this. I don't have the woman's name, but I know that she helped her get a record deal then with Columbia Records, and the rest is history. This was the third single released from that album, and it was her third consecutive #1, which is amazing because her debut album, 1, 2, 3, you know, 1, 2, 3 punch, #1s. Now we got #1, which is One More Try. I do remember this song. It's a pretty sappy song by Timmy T. Where's Timmy T? Timmy T, if you're listening.
Yeah.
You know, let us know.
Give us a shout.
Yeah, we like to know where you are.
What you're doing these days.
I mean, maybe he's not alive. I don't know. So this is a song about a guy who, he did something wrong. Did he lie to his girlfriend? Did he cheat on her? We don't know. And he didn't realize how much he loved her until, you know, and it sounds like a long time has gone by. We don't know how long, but he's still hanging on there. So there's this weird bonky keyboard sound in the beginning. There's some chimes. Vocals are very heartfelt. It's not a bad song for its time. Ends with some spoken words. So this song it does kind of get to you. It's you know, it's a nice ballad, I think.
Don't it always seem to go? You don't know what you got till it's gone?
Yeah, I don't. And this was inspired after breaking up with his girlfriend.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah. So that does it for our top 10 and for our podcast today. Our next podcast is going to be an interview, and the one after that, that's when we're going to be talking about the Doors movie. A lot of exciting stuff coming up.
Very cool.
If you like the podcast, tell a friend. Word to your mother. I don't know what I'm saying. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining me again.
No problem. Thanks, Jim, for having me.
And everyone, thanks for listening, and you'll hear us soon.
All right.
Intro and exit music by the band 99%. Today's show was produced and edited by Jim Thatcher. Jim and Mike Talk Music is recorded at Did You Say 7 Studios in Washington, New Jersey. You can find Jim and Mike Talk Music on Apple Music, Spotify, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The song IKWYB by Forget the Whale and A la Mode by Les Sans Coulettes used with royalty-free permission.